Hey everybody, welcome into To The Point. Hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. Lot to dive into today. Shamus Fillmore will join me later on in the program. We will get into a number of different things with him, including his interesting Maple Leaf game last night. We're going to tee up the NBA playing games, talk about some of the drama going on there with different teams, the matchups, the playoff series that we know so far. So me and Shamus will talk about that later on in the program. If you haven't noticed, yesterday, if you watched the video, I've been trying out a new look, trying out the whole man bun, if you will, look. Still have the ability to go with the hair down. Still looks good, if you ask me. But, we might do both coming on the show. Might have one day hair down, one day hair up. Who knows? It's a process right now, trying to find something that works. But again, hair's not going anywhere. So that's the most important piece of information on the program. And I didn't know what to do this morning. I had a job interview. I said, should I have my hair down or have my hair up? And I decided to put it up because I thought that would be more professional. And actually, they said they had asked me if I had longer hair, and they told me that asked me to pull it down just to see what it looked like. So that was a positive thing from the job interview that they acknowledged. The main they looked at it, they saw it, they appreciated it, if you will. So that was a good start to a Tuesday, is to have that interaction with some people in the professional world, if you will, people that are looking to hire people like me, or probably better people than me. So that's what's going on right now. Hope everybody is doing well today. Lots to dive into, as I said off the top. And I got to start with a team that's been so perplexing for me all year. An incredibly frustrating team. And one of the two teams that I thought was the most interesting coming into the NHL season, and that was the Calgary Flames. I thought Florida, and I believed that the Calgary Flames were the two most interesting teams in the sport. I really did, because I looked at them and said they had made the trade. Tkachuk, you make the trade for Huberdeau, so that swap is done. So that's interesting. You have Darryl, Sutter of it all. Florida changes their coaches, but I looked at Calgary. I looked at Florida. They are the two most interesting teams in the sport heading into the season. And both seasons have gone very similar. Underperforming. Bad goaltending. Florida's had a superstar in Matthew Tkachuk. Who could have seen that coming? He's been great. But then you have the Calgary Flames, who have been anything but consistent. They've been a flat-out disaster, the Calgary Flames. All over the place, underperforming, playing bad hockey. And it came to a screeching halt last night when they lost in the gimmick, as I like to call the shootout, to the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators, who have no business being in a playoff hunt right now. Ryan Johansson's out, Duchene's out, Yossi's hurt. They traded Matthias Ekholm, who's been phenomenal at Edmonton, 16-2-1 since they traded. That's Edmonton's record since he was traded. Since he was traded there. They move out piece after piece, and yet here we are. And the Nashville Predators are going to finish above the Calgary Flames. Nashville has 2 games remaining. They have 90 points. If Nashville loses this evening, or if Winnipeg gets a point tonight, they are going to the playoffs. That's all they need. They're playing the Minnesota Wild tonight. They get a point, they are in. But Nashville's still alive, and they're a better team than Calgary. Calgary's officially eliminated, losing in the gimmick to Nashville, an inferior team, just like they lost to Vancouver Saturday night, an inferior team, just like they lost to Chicago all 4 times this season, an inferior team. It's been a season of disappointment. It's been a season of inconsistent mess, quite frankly. Calgary, if you look at this, and I titled today's podcast by Felicia because I hate this team. I hate it. I hate watching them. I stayed up to watch their game last night. They're not worth anybody's time. They're really not. They do nothing that it would excite you. They're just a frustrating club. They got brand names when you look at Jonathan Huberdeau and you look at their players that they have. But let's go through the Calgary Flames this season. Let's go through this team and what they did. Because it's truly staggering what this team has done. Because I saw today that the biggest piece of news was that the Calgary Flames season is over because Darryl Sutter didn't put Tyler Toffoli in the gimmick. I don't give a shit about that whatsoever. He didn't put him in the gimmick to shoot it. The season's not over because he didn't shoot in the gimmick. The season's over because the best players stunk it up. Because Darryl Sutter didn't coach that well before last night. It's over because, how about Jonathan Huberdeau? Maybe it's over because he's been flat out garbage the whole season. 55 points on the season. 55. Is that good or no? It's not. It's trash. 55 points. It's not all about points, but when you're a player like Jonathan Huberdeau, it is. Because that's all he does. He doesn't defend. He doesn't backcheck. He doesn't do anything that would make you love his game. 55 points. He had 115 last year for the Florida Panthers. 115 points. 15 more goals. 45 more assists. And for all the losers that track plus minus, he was on the ice for 34 more goals. Wow. That staggering stuff. You have that big of a dip? Believe me, I hate the cold. I still do this show well every day. The weather's been shit for 6 months. I've been unhappy for a long time. Guess what? I still get up. I still got to go to work. I still got to do this. He's been trash. Trash. It's not just him. Let's go through this. Jacob Markstrom. How about this? This season, 292 goals against, 892 save percentage. Woof. Ugh. Is that good or not really? 266 last season. 266. A little bit better. Quite a bit better, actually. It's just Nazem Kadri was one of the best players in the NHL in the critical moments last year. He had an elite season. And expecting him to do it all again, I agree. You can't expect it. You can't. But what you can at least expect is competency. Last season in Colorado, he had 87 points and he was a plus 13. This season, he's got 55, the same as Huberdeau, go figure, and he's a minus 20. He is Here's another glaring number for me for Nazem Kadri. He's taken 56 penalty minutes. He had 71 last year. And that might sound like an uptake. That might sound like a better result. It isn't for a guy like Nazem Kadri. He should have 70, 80 penalty minutes every year. That means he's being productive. That means he's pissing people off while taking penalties at the same time. He needs to be doing that. That's an integral part of his game that is just not there. He's getting benched by Darryl Sutter nightly. He averaged 19 minutes and 14 seconds last year, 17-13, 2 minutes shaved off this season for Nazem Kadri in Calgary. Tyler Toffoli was their best player. Mackenzie Weegar, Jonathan Huberdeau, Nazem Kadri, Rasmus Anderson. All their most important players didn't. They just spit the bit. And it can be, well, what if Darryl Sutter did this? What if we had this line combination? What if if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. Okay, that's not how this works. It's not one night. It's not, oh, well, this didn't happen in the gimmick and we didn't do this and this blah, blah, blah. It's a totality of events. It's a whole season of playing uninspired, shitty hockey, period. That's what this Calgary Flames team majored in, is playing a game that nobody wants to watch, nobody wants to play in, and ultimately cost them their season. They were spent from the beginning. It was a chore to watch this team play. No fun. None. They were boring. They were unprepared. Every kind of bad adjective that you could insert here, put it in there. That's why they missed. Because teams like Seattle, while they didn't play great defensively at times, sure. Do they have a more talented roster than the Calgary Flames? No. But Martin Jones, for about a 4-month stretch, was a better goaltender than Jacob Markstrom was all fucking year. Martin Jones, who's a journeyman, bounced around, been in Philly, been in Montreal, been everywhere. He was good in Seattle. Markstrom had about a 3 good game stretch. Other than that, see you later. Huberdeau didn't have a good 5-game stretch all season long. And that's not hyperbolic. That's just the truth. You can coast. You can hang out on the outside. You can throw pucks in the middle of the ice. Pretend like you care defensively. Give a half-ass effort if you win. If you win like you did in Florida, win a President's Trophy, should have been nominated for a Hart Trophy, love all of it. But when you don't win, when you're not even close to winning, that's when it gets a little stale. That's when people say, is this guy really that good? And it didn't fit in Florida. But he's played with worse players in his early days in Florida and been productive than he did this year. So what is it? To me, he's never going to be a player that wins. He'll never be on a Stanley Cup winning team because you need to care a little bit. You need to put in an effort defensively. You need to buy into a system that just isn't run and gun. Okay, I have the puck on the wing. I have my 2 flanks. I can try any pass, and my effort defensively is let me change. That can only work for so long. That can only be so effective. Florida got by Washington in the first round last year, playing that way. They run into Tampa, who's fundamentally sound, knows their systems, has a better goalie, and just an overall better team. You get fucking mollywopped. They get swept. President's Trophy team swept, not even close. Second round series, see you later. That's what happened. So you look at a player, he's played in that system his whole career. His farthest he's got is the second round. Well, is he just not a winner? Is he just a guy that gets a lot of points and then once you get to a certain point, it's done? The Florida Panthers may not win the Stanley Cup this year. They're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year. But they are in a better situation moving forward than the Calgary Flames, because I will take Matthew Tkachuk over Huberdeau and the Weegar combination all day, every day. Because I know Matthew Tkachuk will give an effort defensively. I know he will produce. He brings more to the table than Jonathan Huberdeau. I said that when the trade was made, and I was told everybody in my life, oh, that's stupid. You're wrong. It's crazy. What are you talking about? And again, I'm right because I know this. Because he's a better player. The power forward's dead. No, it's not. The teams that have the power forwards, any other team would kill to have them. That's why Florida said, you know what? We'll trade our first-round pick. We shouldn't have traded for Sherratt. Our last season went horribly fucking wrong. But we're going to fire the coach, Paul Maurice, take a big swing. But we want Matthew Tkachuk for 8 years because he's younger, he's better, and we've had Jonathan Huberdeau, and guess what? That's gotten us nowhere. That's gotten us nowhere close to winning. So why not try this other route? Why not try something different? Why not do something like get Jonathan Huberdeau? Like get Matthew Tkachuk. Buy Weegar. Buy Huberdeau. Weegar was horrible in the playoffs last year too, if you watched. Became worse and worse as the series went along. And Zito, the GM in Florida, he's a different cat. He takes swings. It looks horrible. Now they're kind of back on the rails. They play an interesting game last night. Do they make the playoffs? Wait and see. They win their last game, they do. But to me, you might look at it and say Huberdeau will have more points next year than Tkachuk. I don't know. Maybe he will. But Florida is in a better situation because I like the player that they have more. And yes, Matthew Tkachuk's my favorite player in the league. My favorite player to watch. But Florida's not, I don't have a favorite team. I just look at this based off the player. And based off the way you're trying to build a team fundamentally. Calgary had Darryl Sutter. And you say, you know what, let's go get Jonathan Huberdeau. A man who's never had any kind of discipline at the head coaching position. He's had free will to do whatever he wants. You either change or you don't. I'll give you an example. The Washington Capitals had gone through many head coaches. They had Adam Oates for a while. They had Brucey Boudreau, a great coach. A number of others with the grade 8. And they got to second rounds. They would get deep-ish in the playoffs, but they never won. So they go hire Barry Trotz, who's as, documented, is as thorough as they come. And you think, well, Alex Ovechkin's going to hate Barry Trotz. It could have went that way. And Ovi's never going to be Charlie Hustle defensively. He's never going to be the guy that, cheats to not have offense. But his game changed. If you follow the game of hockey and you watch Alex Ovechkin from where he is now to where he was in 2010, 2011, he's a different player. He cares more. In that playoff, it wasn't just, let me take my clapper on the half wall and see what happens. He did more to impact the game. He came back defensively. He got in the right positions. He didn't shoot the puck trying to miss the net, go all the way down the ice 2-on-1. These type of things, just little things can help you. And Barry Trotz and Alex Ovechkin in that fundamental hockey, it led to a championship. But for that to work, you need everyone to buy in. You need everybody to accept it. The Colorado Avalanche last season, they won, yes, because they were the best team. And sometimes that coincides. But what they also did better than pretty much any other team was everybody fundamentally knew our goaltending is inferior to the opposition in 80% of our series. Who are we playing in the Stanley Cup final? Let's look across the ice. Tampa. We're playing Vasilevsky. Sorry, Darcy Kemper, you're not better than him. So we need to block more shots. We need to be in the lanes. We need to know where our defensive responsibility is. Control it. Be aware of that. They went in a series, whether they're playing Jay Ottinger, whether they're playing, trying to recall, they played the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, you might have better goaltending than Edmonton, but we don't want to play run and gun. Because guess what? They got McDavid and they got Draisaitl over there. They will torch us, even though we're the better team. So we gotta play our game, slow it down, muck it up, be adaptable. Players that are so one-sided, that are so linear, that it's tough to win. Because you can only win the one way. Allen Iverson never won. Why? Because he only played one way, and he was only willing to play the one way. The Golden State Warriors started off as a high-flying three-point shooting team that had no team defense and did not care about it. They changed. Klay Thompson morphed into an All-NBA defender. They added Draymond Green, who's going to go down as a Hall of Famer. Steph Curry, not a great defender, but started to pick up steals, started to play better. They morphed their team. The Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson pivot at head coach, changes were made, and success followed. I don't see that happening with Huberdeau because he's not willing to take a hard check. He's not willing to care defensively. He just plays the one way and hope that it's going to win. It's not going to. It's not going to because it's never worked. It's never. Sidney Crosby plays 200 feet. Nathan McKinnon plays 200 feet. Connor McDavid, and Draisaitl, they play more defensively in the postseason. They just do. And they're on a really good team right now. Edmonton Oilers are a freight train. So Huberdeau will go down as a great player. He'll have his jersey retired in Florida. He'll be looked at. But if he keeps playing the same style, his teams play the same way, there's no change. And he might have a head coach, well, he just had one, where Darryl Sutter is trying to do things that I think a Barry Trotz-like coach would want, and he didn't do it. When will he? Because the Calgary Flames, I believe, are going to fire Darryl Sutter, and Brad Treliving doesn't have any years left on his contract, so they will mutually part ways, which means see you later, bye Felicia, you're fired. So the Calgary Flames are going to come in with a new GM and a new head coach next season. That's just my prediction. I think it's an easy prediction to make. They just had a head coach that was detail-oriented, that was a hard ass, that is, Darryl Sutter to a T. What does that mean? Their next coach is going to be Mr. Laid Back, Mr. Easy, Mr. Sheldon Keefe, if you will, and the Toronto Maple Leafs after having Mike Babcock. It won't be another authoritarian. It won't be another guy that wants to do this. It'll be an easygoing guy. What if the Calgary Flames hired Andrew Brunette? Assistant coach right now in the New Jersey Devils. I don't think New Jersey would want to lose him. What if they hired him? He was a head coach in Florida. People might say he got a wrong deal, be a good coach. Huberdeau loved him. You got to keep Huberdeau, keep him happy. Wouldn't shock me if they did that. There's other coaches. Maybe they hired a college coach. Easygoing college coach. Not, it's more of a laid-back mentality. It will not be a hard ass. It will not be a Darryl Sutter. Won't be a Barry Trotz. Won't be a Mike Keenan type. Because it didn't work. And in this player empowerment era, and you have Jonathan Huberdeau locked up long-term, so you can't get rid of him, the option is, okay, let's change the coach. Let's change our culture. Let's change the way we do things. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's the right way to go about it. Darryl Sutter might not be the right coach for this team. That's fine. They might be tired of him. He's not for everybody. I get it. But just dictating to players, wrong too. Because players don't often know what's best for them. Players don't often know who makes the best coach, who makes the next generation of great players. Look at Michael Jordan. Not real good at it. He's an owner. But I expect full sale changes in Calgary. But the changes that are at the core, the most important, likely won't be made. Huberdeau isn't going anywhere. Kadri isn't going anywhere. Markstrom isn't going anywhere. Chris Tanev likely isn't going anywhere unless he goes to retirement. Rasmus Anderson. Tyler Toffoli. Is he going anywhere? Probably not. He's their best damn player. So if none of that is changing, the only way this gets better is if the players do it themselves. And the key thing to remember through all this is Calgary might improve. You get a new coach, get that new coach bump, you have some success. But it's on the players and how they play night in, night out. Not just through points. That will dictate how successful you're going to be. Because any player can get a whole lot of points. Look at Erik Karlsson. Got 100 points, defenseman. It's great. Great player, don't get me wrong. But Erik Karlsson is another Jonathan Huberdeau. He's had one outlier season where he had a lot of success in the postseason. Other than that, he's not a winner. He doesn't win anything. He's a stat padding defenseman that has a whole lot of accolades individually. But when you want a team success, I wouldn't pick Erik Karlsson. If I had so many picks, he'd be way down because he's never going to win anything. Because the way he decides to play the game, it's not sustainable. He leaves his fucking defense partner out to dry, and before you know it, you will be burned. Got traded to San Jose midseason. He couldn't get chemistry with Brent Burns. They couldn't win anything. They were out early. He had an outlier season in Ottawa where they were surprised they had a deep run. But Erik Karlsson is a lot like Jonathan Huberdeau, where they can stat pad, they can get all. It looks fancy. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's not pretty. It's not good. It's like a relationship where you're cheating on your significant other every other day. You pretend like it's great, but in the back of your mind, I don't want to be with you. I'm sleeping with Diane. So oftentimes it's not, okay, can we get this player? Can we put him with this? To me, fundamentally in sports, it's a player adapting. It's a player changing to a winning environment. Because you can get a whole bunch of guys that play the right way. But if one of the best players doesn't, I think it's still really tough to win. Just think Malkin, Crosby, even Letang on those teams is better than an Erik Karlsson when it comes to winning, making the right decision, having that type of mentality. I think he's better when it comes to that. Barkov's a great defensive player. Really, really important. But Jonathan Huberdeau wouldn't play that way. So he's a loser in Florida. He's a loser in Calgary. I don't care who the next head coach is. If you are unwilling to change the way that you play and play the winning style, you'll always lose. Allen Iverson never won. Michael Jordan won when he decided to change and say, I got to stop being a selfish prick and be a prick, but just play more like a team player. Let's bring in a guy who's the ultimate team player. Cares more about others than he does himself. And that's why he's just a winner in my book and everybody's book. It's the great Shamus Fillmore. Shamus, almost your birthday. How's morale?
Morale's good. Yes. Yeah, no, things are well. Beautiful day. Looks like a beautiful day there behind you. You got a nice little background going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always gets the mood going. I have one question before we start. It's a serious one. Are you pop the collar right now? Is that the look, or is that the new? Am I missing something moving into 2023 spring season?
No, it was just I think it just happened
Okay,
organically. I didn't
okay.
mean to.
It's the first thing I saw when I popped on. I had to ask.
Yeah, no,
I had to be
honestly,
sure.
I was tweaking. I was working on some hairstyles earlier. I had my hair up earlier, so I was kind of
Okay.
playing with that, and I might have been fidgeting a little bit. So
Yeah.
it might have just happened through that, but it's something I look into.
Okay, good to know. I like that. I
Yeah,
like that. I'm sure Jonathan Huberdeau probably rocked that style quite a bit in his heyday in
right.
Florida. Lamborghini, uh,
Mm.
windows down, through cruising through Florida. Now it's hoodie,
Yeah.
jacket, truck, driving through
Yeah.
Calgary. So
Yeah.
all good. All's good in his life, besides not being a good hockey player.
What do you, Calgary is finally done. I've been
Mm,
wanting this for a while because I hate watching them. But your Nashville Predators put them out of their misery
yeah.
last night. I think coach GM are gone before next season. Where do you think this goes from here in Calgary?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough look when you sign this supposed to be superstar type player to a multi-year contract. He hardly gets to. I mean, did he have 55 points this year? I couldn't even
That's what he
I don't
has
even know
right
the
now.
over under.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, he has 55 points. He's supposed to be the star player. You're coming off a really, really, really impressive season, and you do lose in the second round, but it didn't feel like you know it didn't feel like that they were that far off from being a contending team. And now
Mhm.
you're, missing the playoffs. Goalie's looking bad. You're still on contract for a number of years. You just signed Mackenzie Wegener too, so he's on the books for a little while. I don't know. Yeah, I think coach has got to be gone. I don't know what Darryl's got left on his contract as the head coach there, but I think you need new blood in there for sure. Because I think his message has gone a little stale.
Yeah, and the fact that Kadri and Huberto both have the same amount of points is funny to me. They both have 55, which is Huberto had 115 last season, so quite a precipitous drop for
Yeah.
him. What's the biggest problem with this team for you and what you've watched this year?
Oh, I mean, there's a number of glaring issues, I would say. But if we're talking about uno or numero for things that need to be fixed, God, I would almost say, yeah, I would just say the overall just the lack of scoring slash lack of collision between the best players. Because honestly, that's to me that's what it was. Like last year,
Mhm.
they were so great because that top line could play together. They knew where each other were. They knew each other's styles. I feel like you have a whole spring train or a whole training to go into this, but you still don't get enough time with each other to understand. And all season long, it just doesn't feel like anyone really got the gist of how to play with Huberto slash Kadri at times. And ultimately, that's kind of what ruined it. I mean, the guys who've been there the longest, Backlund, Mangiapane, Dubé, like those guys all seem to play okay, but that's because they normally know how to play either under Darryl or just with each other.
Mhm. Yeah, it never worked. From jump, it never Huberto did never had a good 5 game stretch all
Never.
year. Like
No,
never. He
absolutely not.
never found it. Markstrom, same thing. Like he was never consistent
Yeah.
all year long.
No clutch gene either. I mean, that's
No.
look how many times they're the worst team and when it comes to extra minutes or
Mhm.
extra ice time. So that's got to play a factor in it too. Because I have it up in front of me. So they lost 17 overtime losses this season, obviously the most out of any team.
Yeah.
And I mean, you add those 17 points onto your record, you're in a
Very
great spot.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
half of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Half of those, you're in the first wild card spot and you're ahead of Seattle. So yeah, it's a fine line for sure. Winnipeg can clinch tonight if they get a win against the Minnesota Wild. No easy feat. Both teams are coming off a back to back. You're Nashville Predators hanging on by a thread. They need to win out and Winnipeg to lose out to make it. But do you think Winnipeg? I think they played well the last 2 games. I watched them play your Preds Saturday night. I didn't watch anything of San Jose last night because no thanks.
Why? Why?
Yeah, I just I had other things, but they didn't catch any of that game. But they look good Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to play Winnipeg or Seattle in the first round if you had a choice?
I think I just want to play Seattle. I think when it comes to the clutch gene, the goaltending, I think you're definitely winning that battle with Winnipeg. And the experience too. It's not that I don't think all those guys combined have a ton of experience, but they just don't have any of that going into the playoffs. I think they were a good regular season team. We saw how they played in the first half of the season, which was great. And then that withered away kind of as the season went along. You saw the teams like Edmonton, LA, and Vegas all kind of triumph over them. But yeah, so I think I'd much rather play Seattle, and there's no disrespect to them too. I think that they can give any team trouble with how greasy they play. They've got guys like Tanev deeper in the lineup. Talvin, he's been great since he's got there as well. So issues could come up later if you didn't have the depth for it. But yeah, I don't know. I heard you podcast on Thursday with Winnipeg, kind of ripping them apart about the lack of effort against the Calgary game and, not really wanting it. Dubois got his train ticket to Montreal already. Scheifele playing like he's won 3 cups and 2 Hart trophies in the bag. Yeah, so I just feel like Winnipeg's got to figure some things out, but obviously they've got the better team overall.
Yeah, and Seattle, they're weird because they've won 6 straight now, and they're playing a lot of bad teams. And Jared McCann has got 40 goals on the
Great
season.
Year.
Yeah, great season for him. Vegas, Winnipeg. Could you smell upset in that series? Say Vegas wins the Pacific, it'll be Vegas or Edmonton get the first seed in the West. Do you think Winnipeg could win that series?
Yeah, I could see Winnipeg winning that series, especially where goaltending's at. I mean, is Logan Thompson going to be back? Brossoit. Brossoit, did he play in Winnipeg? Maybe
yeah,
I might be thinking. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
He's a backup for like 3 years there. Yeah.
Okay, so he goes against his old team. Maybe he just turns into, Marty Brodeur from 2000 and just dominates. Who knows? But no, I like Winnipeg's chances. Just where, if Morrissey's on his game, obviously their power play's got to get figured it out. But I can still see good things, and I have a lot of hope in this team if they can get it together and get that top 2 pairs together. You know what I mean? Like they have the grit, they have the size. I think Dubois, like you said, takes a lot of stupid penalties, but that doesn't mean he's not passionate. You think he's a guy who plays with that sandpaper. That's why Tortorella loved him and hated him probably at the same time. But he is that type of player, and he's had success with the past. The core unit with Scheifele, Wheeler, and Morrissey. They've and Hellbuck. They have had success in the past in the playoffs. So who knows? I could sniff a little LA Kings 2012.
Right. Yeah. No, me too. If they put it all together, they can be a really, really dangerous team. Karlsson got to 100 points last night.
Yeah.
Which is impressive, no doubt about it. But, because there's always a but.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
Friday, I'm doing my NHL awards. The show. I'm going to pick the awards, 3 nominees for each. It's tough. I'm still going through it. But he's the only defenseman ever to get 100 points and his team not make the playoffs. And not even they've been out of the playoffs since game 1. They're that bad. I have a hard time. It's a hard year for the Norris Trophy because I don't think there's an obvious answer to who the winner should be.
Yeah.
I assume you're going to tell me to pick Karlsson, but where do you kind of stand on this?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think he'll get the nod, but he's not. He wouldn't be anywhere near mine for the reason, like you said. I mean, they didn't even sniff. If they were 2 points away from a playoff spot, and he he was playing better at his own end. Not great by any means, but just a little bit better. I'd say it's in the bag for him, but where they're so far down, I mean, they're sniffing Bedard left, right, and center, and he's a problem child when it comes to playing defensive to play. Yeah, there's just no way I could just easily hand it over. I do agree with you, though. I think it's a tough year for people to pick because I feel like people will obviously lean that way, but other people will say, well, but Morrissey's had a great season. They're in the playoffs. He's been great. I could see people saying Adam Fox is, he's had another great year. New York's a better team than both of those teams, and he's been on big display of that, obviously. Yeah, so I think it goes all the place. But my final pick, and a guy I could easily see winning it, and because his team barely missed, but he had a tremendous season. I think he plays a lot of hard is Rasmus Dahlin.
He had a hell of a game on Saturday. I was watching the game in Carolina. My God.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, I could see him being giving him a nod. I could see people giving it to Carlson. I could see people giving it to Morrissey, and then Fox is right in the mix. You know what I mean? It's a crazy year because I don't think that if you were betting, I don't think you would have any for sure certainty on who's getting it, right?
Right. Do you think Dougie Hamilton has a chance?
I think Dougie has a chance. Like I said, he's a little bit like the Carlson. He's not a fantastic defensive player, but he obviously does great things. He must have 20 goals, which is, I think, always impressive. The year that Morgan Riley got his nod, I think he also kind of the same, 20 goals, 50 assists. I could see him just as easily getting a nod in there as well. I think a lot of New Jersey fans are really happy with that contract and the way that's turned out. He doesn't look like he's slowing down by any means. He looks like he can be a number one guy. So he's just as easily could be in there. Dahlin, Dougie, EK, all those guys. Question for you: does all that cash, $11.5 million a year, does the 100-point season make that worth it? Or no, not at all.
No.
Just where no one's ever had 100.
Yeah, I know, but how many people in San Jose care?
Care that he makes 11.5 million or that he has 100 points?
100 points.
Dude, I can see a lot of Sharks fans being like, "Oh, we got EK." We got the guy.
Here's how it's worth it, Shay. He has 100 points, and they trade him for a whole lot.
That could be it. That could be it.
That would be how it's worth it to me. That would be, that would make it get him off the books because I don't trust next year he'll get 70 points.
Yeah, no, I also agree. I think it's one of those things where he eats it up this year, and then he's back to kind of the normal standard that we've come to know.
Right. Yeah. It's a tough season for the Norris. You mentioned Buffalo. They're likely not going to make it because they got another 3 games in the next 4 nights, but they've been fun all year long. And they won 40 games this season for the first time in a very long time. Owen Power is a flat-out stud. I love him like a son. You mentioned Dahlin. Cousins got 30 goals this season. Tage Thompson's a flat-out superstar now. Devin Levi's looked really good since coming in from college. That remains to be seen, but he looks solid. I like their club, and they're not going to make it. And it's sad because I'd much rather see them play in the playoffs than Pittsburgh, personally, just for fun.
Right.
But I like their future, and I certainly like it more than, say, the Islanders moving forward and or Pittsburgh moving into next year and beyond.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, all these teams are aging out, and they're just kind of hitting their stride, right? It's one thing if they were Ottawa and they were kind of running in place for a couple of years, but they have made drastic improvements this year. Their young guys have looked developed, like you said. Cousins, I mean, he's a flat-out stud. I think when you talk about two-way players, I think in a few years he could be nominated for the Selke. I don't know if he'd ever win it, but he could be that guy.
Right.
Just because of the way he plays. But yeah, no doubt they got the superstar player. They have the number one center. They have a Norris-type defenseman. And knock on wood, hopefully they have their steady goaltender behind. Like you said, he looks pretty good so far. What do you think of the Star Wars reference for him and his dad? They kind of have that connection. He, he does the prayer in front of the net. the ice guys are going around him trying to clean around, but he's in the zone. I kind of like that as a Star Wars fan. I think that's pretty interesting. And goalies are known for being weird guys, but obviously everyone has their ticks and what makes them go, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like you said, I've playing hockey. Every goalie I've been around is weird. They're different animals. They're like starting pitchers. You can't talk to them, and you just want to kind of let them be. But I like that. I watched a bit of that game last night. Turned it off when it got to a certain point of the game. You can guess what that might be. But I saw in the highlights that he did like a big celly after they won, and I thought I'm like, good for him. They got nothing to lose right now. They're playing hard. They beat the Rangers in MSG last night in a big game.
Yeah.
So I like them certainly, and they got the Devils tonight to try to keep their season alive. Florida got a point against your Leafs last night. If they got 2 points, they would have won. But you must be feeling good with Ilya Samsonov looking as dialed in as any goalie in the NHL heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, say and no direct, and and with no sarcasm, he is single-handedly won them that game last night, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, they were heavily outplayed. The team in front of them just didn't look like they give a shit.
Yeah.
He made a very, very nice play in overtime. I think it was on the game-winning goal where he basically made a toe save off of, I want to say, Kachuk, and then they went down and Tavares was able to pop it in. But it was like that all game. I mean, I only watched maybe a full period just here and there because I had other things going on. I wanted to watch some other games as well. But yeah, and they brought up Matthew Nyes, which I think was great. He's not a playoff player, but I think you could send him to the Marlies for a little bit. I couldn't even tell you if the Marlies were going into the AHL playoffs, but
yeah, they're one of the better teams.
They are. Yeah,
yep.
There you go. So they can add that guy. Maybe they win another Calder Cup. Who knows? But yeah, I mean some good things. And like you said, Samsonov, he's dialed in. I have maybe an opposite opinion than most people about the Leafs and Tampa series, but we'll get to that we'll get to that road when it crosses.
So you're still low confidence?
I don't want to disclose anything too crazy yet. I think we'll have a podcast about the playoffs week. And we'll have a little talk next week. I mean, timing wise works out pretty perfectly with the playoffs starting April 17th. So we'll see when we get there. But I think people will be shocked to see what I have to say.
Okay. What'd you make of Nyes that you watched?
I watched it okay. He made a really, really bad play at his own end. I don't know if you saw that where he basically back passed it and Duclair almost went in and scored and he got bailed out by his goalie, one of Samsonov's many bailouts of that night. But good. Not a bad skater. I thought he'd be more physical, but he played okay on that line. I think, if anyone had any expectations that he was going to come in and dominate, I think that was stupid. He's a young player. Mm-hmm. He's playing a different game. I don't care what anyone says. The college game is different than the NHL style. It's faster. It's heavier. And I thought he held his own, but obviously he wasn't perfect and, it kind of showed. But did I see potential for him to be an everyday NHLer? Yeah, I saw some things that made me, smile.
Right. Which Leaf player and their play worries you the most?
I'm watching Nylander last night and I don't love it. I do not love it.
He's a little checked out lately.
I feel like for a lot of times he was just a step behind. He's a step behind from catching that pass, from getting onto the zone. He's not protecting the puck. He's not back checking, which I mean he's never been elite at that. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. There seems to be something wrong with him. I don't understand what. This, he doesn't even seem happy at times. I've seen highlights before where he pops in a goal. I think Saturday he popped in a goal. It's like, meh, okay,
right,
whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. If it's if it's the fact that this time of the year is coming along, and I don't care what anyone says. The regular season mean absolutely fucking dick for the Leafs. They have one goal and they only have one opportunity to make things right for their fan base, and that's coming up in the better part of a month.
Vasilevsky's starting against your Leafs, and I'm surprised. I thought they'd start, Ken Campbell, who works at the local public.
Right. Play Brian Elliott. He's
Yeah,
about the equivalent of anyone around here.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's. I don't know. What would your explanation be? Your John Cooper? Maybe he wants to play. Is if
He
he came
could.
up to you and
He didn't play Saturday, so it would be a bit of a. He'll probably play tonight, not play Thursday. That's my guess. But
right,
who knows?
because Tampa hasn't looked elite, and by any means, they're getting blown
No.
out by Ottawa. They're having a tough little end of the season, but is that maybe why? Maybe he's trying to get his reps in before he has to
Yeah, he
take
might
on a
just want
tough
to get a
team.
win, just to get that confidence going a little bit.
Yeah, and then I get a message today. Oh, there's some panic going on with the Leafs and their goal. I'm like, I could give two shits about the Leafs and their goaltending and what's going on right now. Like, it's not that these games are pointless, and I think they are, and I think tonight's a great little, maybe taste test to what we're going to see in a week's time. But I don't really care because it doesn't mean much. It's like, well, let's get to game one and we'll see what happens.
The Boston Bruins get to 63 wins. Best regular season team ever.
Yep.
For them to be the greatest team ever, do they have to win the cup?
I think so. Yeah. And if they do, then I don't know. I'll shake some people's hands and maybe,
right,
say some things on this podcast, some nice things on this podcast about the Boston Bruins. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't it's a great regular season. It'll go down in the history books. I watched the end of the game just so I could see them celebrate because I thought, this is special. This is a special moment. You earned this. This is the greatest regular season. It kind of felt like when Golden State, kind of got their record. It meant a lot. It's a hell of a season. You got to tip your hat to how consistent and how there's some luck played in there for sure, but it's a grind and there's close games and there's a lot of comeback games and they won all of them. So, truly, truly, truly special. But in order to wear that crown and maybe forever as the best team to ever live and the best team ever assembled, I do really think you have to at least get to the Stanley Cup Finals. And I'd say more or less have to get over the hump and that when you even get there. What about you? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think you can look at individual, like Jim Montgomery will likely win Coach of the Year, and you have a few other things that will document how good it was. But I agree. I will say one of the best contract years ever for David Pastrnak. I mean, he's already a great player. As you know, I was a fan before the great season. But it's sad for him because he has 60 goals. He's not even going to win the Rocket because of freaking CM97.
Yeah, it's old CM. God, hate that guy.
Yeah.
He'd win the Rocket. McKinnon would win the Hart.
Yeah.
There might be someone win the Ted Lindsay. I don't know. It's strange how much hardware you could say steals from guys. Obviously, he earns everything because of how hard he works. But
yeah,
it is insane. I mean, and he's likely to finish second, I'm guessing.
Kachuk.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Rocket or the Hart?
I meant. Well, actually, I was talking about the Rocket, but that's a whole other discussion talking about how we feel about the Hart.
Yeah, the Rocket, he'll finish second because I think Rantanen is third. Rantanen's got like 54 now. Another one of my guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow,
He had a hat trick Sunday night quietly against the Ducks. So I think
good team.
Quickly. Yeah, real good club. He's got 64, 90 for 97. Pastrnak has 60. Then you have Rantanen with 54. So he'll finish second for sure. But yeah, that's tough. 60 goals and you're second in the league. That's rare.
To think about the last time there was two. I can't even remember the last time there was 2 60 goal scorers in the league. You know what I mean? Like we're talking 90s probably, right?
90s. It would be the 90s. Yeah, I think it might have been Lemieux and Yager might have had 60 in the same year for those great Penguins teams. I think that might have been the last time.
They were playing pond hockey, and everyone else was just trying to survive.
Yeah, chestnut checkers there for sure. Edmonton, Colorado tonight. Any juice in that game? I know I'm tired of the regular season too, but that's a game that I actually plan on watch something of it.
Yeah, I think so. Just because, I mean, I don't know how I feel about Colorado. We'll probably get into that conversation maybe more next week, but it would not shock me one bit to see them back in a conference final. I will say that they have to survive, but if they get the right goaltending, they need some help in the back end. You said it last week. Bowen Byram needs to take that level that he's been playing at even higher. But God, you got a guy like McKinnon on your team and Rantanen. I won't take anything away from him. You got a real chance to get back to a conference final, and this is kind of like the with the Leafs and the Lightning. It's a little showcase of what we probably could see in the playoffs at some point.
Yeah, because since the Oilers got Matthias Ekholm, they're 16-2-1.
Yeah, good trade.
Not bad.
How do you think Tyson Barrie feels? He's just like
he's on Broadway. He's doing it. He's
he's wearing an A. Did you see that?
I did see that. Yeah, that was something else. Yeah. Poor Johansson breaks his leg and he gets stripped of it.
Shouldn't have got hurt, pussy.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
talk about not worth the money. Ryan Johansson in Nashville.
Yeah, good contracts.
Speaking of overpaid, let's go to the NBA.
Oh.
Let's go to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this debacle, they play this evening in Los Angeles against the Lakers, but they'll be without Naz Reid, my guy. They'll be without Jaden McDaniels, who punched a wall out of frustration, picking up not a fifth, but a second foul. And Rudy Gobert, who is not flying to Los Angeles because he punched a teammate. And Kyle Anderson, 1-game suspension. Just take that wherever you want to start, Shay. What I just went through, to kind of wherever you want to go with that conversation, just go.
Yeah, I think they got some really good therapists going on in Minnesota. I think their team therapist must be getting paid a lot of good cash. Yeah. We'll start with Gobert just because he's the bigger name, and then maybe I'll just touch on the other guys too, and jump in where you want.
Yeah,
I feel like it's been a combination this year of Gobert's. The trade and the contract are getting to him.
Right.
Because he's realized he's overpaid, which is not his fault. They paid him because they paid him. But the fact that they gave up so much in that trade and they've gotten so little from the player it's astounding. It's astounding. Like you could look back at that, and I often look back, not obviously to see what Minnesota got, because I know exactly what they got, to see what they gave away. Like how many picks, how many quality players, and that Kessler kid from Utah looks like a real stud. Like you could have said that Kessler and Gobert was a bad trade, just straight up.
It is. I think it is, Shay, straight up. Even if they made the same amount of money, I'd take Kessler.
He just looks promising. He looks like a really, really quality player. I didn't know he was in college. I never heard anything about him, but now all of a sudden he's popped off this season. He's decent defensively. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling to think that they gave up. And like I said, I think his teammates are frustrated with his lack of effort at times. I think that Gobert is frustrated with the team because he was on a playoff team, I think, year in, year out every time he was with Utah.
Yep.
And now he's struggling with the same Minnesota team that's been struggling to get the playoffs for years and years. And, there's health issues too. I'm not going to totally debunk the team. I think that if they were healthy, their quality players were healthy 82 games this year, I think we're looking at a much different team. But yeah, it's strange. And I don't know what I mean, I get it. Like you're trying to punish a guy. You're trying to set a precedent for, we're not just going to have loose cannons out here punching guys and getting into scruffs on the bench, but to sit a guy in what could be the most important game in the year for your franchise is just weird because maybe we don't have a chance against LA and then we roll our dice with, OKC or New Orleans. That's not given that you're going to win either one of those games. I mean, we're going to go over playing games here in a second. I'm not saying that they're going to win either of one of those. The McDaniels one is just, I get it. Some of those calls on him maybe weren't the fairest of calls, but you got to
Right.
keep your emotions in check. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It does suck. We're coming down to the wire. These games mean a lot, especially when you're trying to place and get into good position. But what are you thinking? Like, how many times have you seen your buddy at the frat party punch the wall, break his hand, and then you look at the next day, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Happens all the time. Like, just punch the pillow.
Right.
If you want, maybe him and Gobert could punch each other. They both had some anger. Yeah. Like, I quite frankly don't understand it. And Kyle Anderson, I think, is a good player. He does a lot of good things, but sometimes I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't be the voice of the team, because sometimes his effort level is not all there all the time either.
Yeah, this is a puzzling team.
It's just a lot to talk
Yeah,
about.
it's a lot. And you punch a wall on game 82, like, why not 64? Like, this team's been mediocre for a long time.
Yeah, it's like, why does it matter now?
And the crazy thing, Sunday, they ended up winning the game, which is crazy through all of this.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a chance in hell of winning tonight.
No, me neither. I don't think they did with those players in the lineup.
Right. Yeah. I think it's going to be a blowout tonight. Lakers will crush the Timberwolves. Who do you think the Timberwolves want? Let's just move ahead. Let's say they lose tonight. Gobert will be back Friday. Do you think they'd rather play OKC or Nolans?
It's tough. They just beat New Orleans, right? I think that was the game.
Yep.
I think they'd want New Orleans again, just with the comfortability level, recency bias. And I feel like OKC is a team playing with nothing to lose. I feel like that they're young. They realize they got to a place that they didn't think they maybe get to. And yeah, they don't have the experience. I don't think there's a guy on this team with playoff experience, literally. Yep. But they got Shea, and sometimes just having a superstar player can get you overboard. We'll talk about the Eastern Conference here in a minute, but I have, like you said, I have LA beating Minnesota, and I have OKC beating Minnesota in the second part. So I have OKC getting in an 8th seed.
That would be fun. That would be way funner than any of the others in my mind.
Is Zion's not playing, right?
No.
Yeah, so I get it. New Orleans has got talent. I think I bet against them last year when it came to them playing either the Clippers or whoever else.
Mm-hmm.
And they shoved it down my pants. But yeah, I just see OKC having a slight advantage tomorrow night, and I think they'll get it done. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I agree with you. Lakers 100%. They crushed them. Shea is great. Jalen Williams I like a lot. You have Lou Dort, who does play good defense. OKC has no centers. That's one thing about their team that's so strange. They literally have none. They traded Muscala to your Celtics. So JV could be a problem, actually, in that game if they decide to use them. I think New Orleans probably beats OKC. I hope they don't, but I think they do. And I think New Orleans will end up getting the 8th seed. I think they'll beat Minnesota, and it'll be New Orleans versus Denver in the first round.
Okay. I could see I could see the argument there as well. OKC's beat teams with centers all year long.
True. No, it's very true.
And I don't know how they do. Like no one can rebound on the team. They must just let offensive boards go left, right, and center, because there's no one to box out, I guess.
Right.
But somehow they have 40 wins this year. I don't get it. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, but they have a chance, and they're here over Dallas.
Does Trae Young and his kryptonite, the Miami Heat, do the Hawks have any chance of winning tonight?
No, I think Jimmy turns on the Flames tonight, and it's been a weird year. It's been a weird year for Miami, because I think Jimmy's actually played really well for most of the season.
Yep.
And then the rest of the team just looks like it's in shambles at times. But Atlanta, I don't trust. I've no trust them all year. I don't know how many times I've bet on Atlanta to win this year, and I've gotten burned by them.
Right.
Probably more than any other team in the league.
Right.
So
Yeah, and they have no cohesion, the Atlanta Hawks.
no, Murray and Trae Young can't play together. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, they'll likely lose tonight because
Who do
in
they
Trey.
play?
That's the thing. The Bulls or the Raptors. I think the Bulls win that game.
Oh, I have the Raptors. I'm gonna stick with them.
Yeah,
What's your reason for taking the Bulls over the TO?
I think the Bulls play better defense overall, and I just think the Bulls have more of a bench that they play. Like if the Raptors are going to play that starting lineup the whole night, they might wear out. Where I think the Bulls can put guys on the floor. You give Levine, you give DeRozan a break, so it's not
Mhm.
so much on them. It's not so much on, and that's the thing too with the Raptors. Who are you relying on to put buckets? Like Siakam, and then after that, it's kind of like, is Fred invested anymore in this team? Does OG care? Like it's a lot of guys that don't really want to be in Toronto anymore, coach included.
It is interesting because like the next game they lose, well, we'll say, yeah, they lose this game or they
Yeah,
win and they lose to Atlanta. That's it. Like
yeah.
that's Nick Nurse's last game. I mean, it's as plain as day that he doesn't maybe want to be there, or maybe the team doesn't want him to be there. But that's it. You know what I mean? I have a I don't know a reason I picked Toronto over the Bulls. You said the defense, but I think their defense is okay. I think with OG, as if he
Mhm.
puts the clamps on, say, Levine, you have
Right.
DeRozan. DeRozan, not always a great playoff guy. I get it. This isn't really technically the playoff picture, but still, like it's a
It's win or
clutch
go
game.
home.
It's
Yeah.
win or go home. It's a clutch game that you have to perform in, and he's not always done that in the playoffs. The problem, and that I could have seen beforehand, was that they don't have a center, but now they have Pirtle.
Yep.
Pirtle, I like his matchup. He's a little quicker than Vucevic.
Yep.
I think if he has a big game, I think if Fred can distribute the ball like we know he can and shoot like we know he can, I think they can get it done. That's my only argument, is that when you look at the matchup game, I can see them coming on top, but I could also see DeRozan look at this team, say, remember when you guys traded me in 2019?
Yeah.
I'm going to make you guys fucking pay it now. And he could drop 35, 40 points and just be a stellar player. So who knows? To me, it could go either way. That's the one I have the hardest time with.
Do the Raps beat the Hawks?
And then I have Atlanta beating Toronto.
Atlanta.
That's my
Yeah.
one. And no disrespect there. I just think that if it came down to a serious game, I think that Toronto could lose to a team that's, how do I put it? Just has better shot makers.
Right.
Young can shoot the ball. I think Hunter, when he wants to, he can be a shooter. I think that, like you said, they have a little bit deeper of a bench than Toronto would.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I would just have them making it. Could be wrong on both, honestly. Like I could see those going either way. All these teams are really close in the standings, but they're also really close in play. So who knows? What about you? Do you think that the Bulls over top Atlanta, or do you think that Atlanta is looking to play Milwaukee in the first round?
I'm gonna go with the Bulls.
Okay, so you think they get all the way through?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I think whoever it is, Shay, that first round series with the Bull with the Bucks will be the worst of any series because I think the Bucks are gonna
Yeah,
kill all of them.
right, right. Yeah, like a clean slate probably. I can't remember last year, but I think we called a sweep when it was Milwaukee versus
Chicago.
maybe, yeah, it might have been Milwaukee versus Chicago, and I think we called a sweep, and I think it was a sweep too. I don't
Yeah,
think that they won one game.
yeah. What did you make of UD Day in Miami, the last day of the season? Were you in favor of that or?
So it's his. I guess it's his last game.
Yeah, last regular season game. Maybe gets in. Got hot during that game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They go all the way. They win. No, I don't know. I feel two ways about it. It's like, yeah, like he hasn't really played in a long time, but he's been on the bench. He's been with the team. He helps coach, I guess, at certain points. But I don't know. It's like kind of long overdue. It's like a guy who has just been that stale odor that sticks around, your house that you don't understand why, and then you kind of get rid of them, and then it's done.
Right.
But I got nothing wrong. Like Udonis Haslem was a great player for a long time. Obviously, I think just from what I said there, he stayed around a little too long, but he should be celebrated in some sense. I don't like that they made a whole day about it, but that's
Right.
just my opinion. What about you? How do you feel?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. He's a multiple-time champion. I get it, but I also think Dwayne Wade's making it about himself, going on the court with his jersey on and hugging him. And
He went on with his jersey.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Like, yeah, you shouldn't even be there. You're part of the Jazz now. Get out. He owns ownership in the Jazz, not the Heat. I wouldn't even welcome him back. Pat Riley should bar him from the arena.
Yeah.
But hey, not as petty as me. Before we get to the rest of the series, who's your MVP? Season's officially over.
Yeah, I had a hard time going through this. It's tighter. It's much tighter than it has been the last couple of years. I guess last year you could have said. I mean, people could have said Embiid was right there. I guess with Joker, but yeah, this season
Joker had no team last year. To me, it really wasn't that difficult last year because he was playing with no one.
Yeah, and this year he has a squad. He has both of those guys back. I'm gonna go with Joel this year over him. I just think.
Me too.
I just think with the way their team looks, how not great defensively at times, and how clutch he had to be in such tight games.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's him because I think if Joker played like he has been the last couple of years, I think that Denver would have had probably 4 or 5 more wins on the season.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree.
That's maybe a shot at him and his play this year, and I think he's still had a phenomenal year. 25, whatever, 10-10 is still good in many books, and it'll go down as a great season for himself. But I don't know. I just feel like that Joel was just unbelievable in the second half. Like when he came down to shot play, like I seen him play the Boston Celtics. He was unbelievable in that game. That was such a tight game, but he came up clutch so many times. And the reason I don't have Giannis on this list is just because I don't know. When it comes down to it, I think that his team was really good. Like I think if you pulled all 3 of those guys, I think that Denver's by far not good. But I think that I don't think Philly's that great either, and it just shows how better Joel was for this year for them.
Yeah, I would go Joel, Giannis, Jokic if I would have a vote. Yeah, I think that's where I go. Who's your coach of the year?
Oh God, this old brownie boy. I think he's got it in the bag.
Beam. Light the beam.
The beam.
Yeah, light them up.
I don't. Yeah, I mean because I think about it all the time. I'm like, there's no real superstar on the team, but yet you're placing 3rd in your conference.
Yeah.
And they got a tough matchup in Golden State. I'm not going to say that's a walk for them because it'll just be 150, 149 every single night they play. But just well coached, well deserved. I think he did a great job in close games. I mean, I'm not staying up till 11 to midnight every night to watch them play, but the games I did watch, the highlights I did watch, he seemed to do a great job. And I mean, am I wrong in saying this is his first year?
Yep, first year head coach.
First year, and I mean there's got to be a correlation between getting your first year and then having the team obviously get into a playoffs position. I don't care what anybody says.
100% make the playoffs for the first time in almost 20 years. Like that's another point in his favor.
Yes, yeah.
Defensive player of the year.
A lot of people are going to say Triple J. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Doesn't play enough.
Well, yeah, he doesn't. I mean, that's injury wise, and there's nothing you can do about that. But yeah, I mean, people are going to look at his blocks and he blocks so many people. And I do think he's a very quality defensive player. But I'd say the big guy from Cleveland probably has my vote over him.
Yeah. I would say Mobley or Drew Holiday for me.
Wow. Drew, the lockup too. Maybe we see two guards back to back.
Unlikely. I think it'll likely be might be Jackson Jr. But I just think Holiday just man to man defense. I don't think there's a better guy than him in the
No,
league.
I agree with that. Yeah. No one locks down the better players on a team than he does. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier about Milwaukee. Like it's it's impressive. Giannis has had a great season, but when Giannis was out of the lineup, they were still really good, and Holiday was key to that in every which way.
Brogdon wins 6-man.
Yeah, and it sounds biased, but he was great. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. I thought he was clutch in most games. I thought he performed in most games, and he's not bad defensively either. I think he's pretty good then too, and he's everything that they traded for, and I'm really really happy that they picked him up.
Yeah,
what about you?
Best addition of the offseason, Malcolm Brogdon. I found.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he would get my vote. He's everything that was advertised. He does everything that they ask of him. Yeah, he's a stud, Malcolm Brogdon. So he would get my vote.
And quickly from New York is a good. He's a follow up for me, but he has started 25 games, and he's an impeccable scorer, but he just doesn't. The differences in the players, I think, and what they mean to be on the bench, right?
Yeah, I think he's like the Tyrese Maxey for the Knicks, but I think like you said, he starts some. And his most impressive game of the season was against your Celtics, and he started that game. So that really, it wasn't like a mic drop night for him because he started and he was awesome. But I mean, he ended up starting.
Yeah, I agree.
Favorite series of the first round so far? Obviously, we still have to make a couple. Yeah. We can assume the Lakers win tonight, so you can even add Memphis Lakers if that is up there for you. But your favorite series of the first round?
My favorite series. I don't think either Eastern Conference matchup. I do enjoy. I do think Cleveland will beat New York. I guess we can get that underway now, but I don't think that'll be my favorite series. I mean, it's really really going to be interesting to see what it's like for the Suns and the Clippers to face off. I mean, I'm high on the Clippers. They're both teams with a lot of veterans, and I think either team could go on a very deep run. But yeah, that's probably it for me. And yeah, I don't. But then the Warriors and the Kings, that's fun too. That's gonna be a fun offensive like back to back. Like you got the young guns that are gonna be running it versus the old guys. Poole's gonna be in there. He's always exciting on the offensive side of things. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm gonna go with Clippers and Suns. What about you? What are you most looking forward to?
I'll probably say Golden State and the Kings.
Okay.
But no, I'm going to go Knicks Cavs, actually.
Really? How come?
I find the Donovan Mitchell piece of this fascinating, as does Dirk, because he's going to be in the Garden, and they could have traded for him.
Yes. Yeah,
absolutely. Not to pay the price. So imagine it's Game 7, and he hits like a game-winning 3, and I think this series is going to go long, and I think it's going to be really competitive. Because the Knicks, they're a good team. Like the Knicks, they're not great, but they're a good club. If he hits a big free in the Garden to clinch the series or something like that, the people there will be so mad. James Dolan will be getting his photo ID out to make sure none of those people get back in the building next year. But that angle of it, I love watching Mobley play. He's a budding star.
Yep.
Mentioned quickly, if Randall can come back in the first couple games of the series, that will be huge.
Mm-hmm.
How many times does Tom Thibodeau look at RJ Barrett and just suck the soul out of him because he hates him so much in his decision making? So I think both these teams are really fun to watch. They're not as talented as the Bucks and Celtics, as we talked about many times, but I think both of them have their good things about them, and they're both on the rise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, New York fans have been a long time to get into the playoffs, let alone try and win a series. So, yeah. I think Josh Hart's going to be a big part of that too. Yes, I think he's going to frustrate a lot of people on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, it will be a fun series. Excuse me. Some phlegm coming up there. In the Nets and 76ers, I mean, just to touch on that one, I think that could be an interesting series. I don't think it's an absolute write-off that the 76ers go in and blow the doors off the Nets, because I think the Nets have a compete level. They know they don't got nothing to lose. They know they're not supposed to be there, clearly. And Bridges has become this star, clutch player that's been going on the last 20, 30 games of the year, right? So how does he fit in? How does that team look in the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
So many different questions. I just can't wait to have them answered.
The Lakers going to get to the conference final?
So yeah, I was trying to think about their road. So they beat the Wolves tonight. They play Memphis.
Yeah.
No
Steven Adams and no Brant Clark.
Oh, yeah, two
both out for the season.
Players. Is Tyus Jones still playing?
I think so.
LeBron will find a way to win that series. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. I think he'll find a way to win that. So he wins that series. That means then they will have to play the winner of the
Golden State, Sacramento.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, neither one of those teams play defense, and I can see. And neither one of those teams. I mean, they have some.
Shay, I think Anthony Davis is the most important player, because who's going to guard him in either of those series? Nobody.
Yeah. No, it's true. No, nobody's guarding AD. I mean, when he wants to, he can be the best player on the floor, quite frankly. Yep. There were points this year where you look at him and you're like, are these numbers real? Are they fabricated? I don't understand. Like 30, 15, 40, 10. Like it didn't even make sense what he was doing sometimes this year. Yeah, I could see them. To answer your question overall, I could see them sniffing a little conference final action. Imagine the Clippers and the Lakers get to the conference final, and Russ has to play his old team.
He'd love that. I think the Lakers would love it too.
I think they would.
They'd want him with the ball in his hand every time, firing up threes.
Agreed.
So Lakers over the Grizz, Sacramento, Golden State. Who wins that series?
Every time I want to write Golden State off, it's like they're cursed. Yeah. It's like I don't know. Every time I say it, they win.
Right.
They're well coached.
They're gonna win.
Yeah, it's a young team. I love the season that they had, but honestly, if Curry could do it against any team in the first round, it'd probably be Sacramento. I think so. Especially with Looney. They got Looney coming back too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they could get Gary Payton to if he could lock up a De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
I don't know. That could
Wiggins
be it.
Too. Wiggins is going to be back.
It's a question mark, right? It's a question mark. He hasn't played all the year. Obviously, he's been going through some family personal issues, which is really, really sad. Yeah, I think that it's going to be good. If he can come back, though, if Wiggins can come back and play, I would say even 70% of what he did last year in the playoffs, which was spectacular, they got that unlocked. Like, they will win that series.
Yeah, I agree. Clippers or Suns?
Clippers.
What?
Yep.
Really?
Clippers.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I was high on the Clippers. I got to keep up with my pick at the beginning of the year. The Clippers will ride this deep.
Okay.
The Suns I love, but it all wavers on how Chris Paul plays, and I don't trust him. I just not trust him. He was garbage last year in the playoffs, and I don't know. I think that he could be garbage again. KD and D-Brook can only do so much. That's the way I see it.
So who gets to the finals in the West? Clippers?
God, you're asking me all the hard questions now.
Well, it's the start,
It's funny because I can see a real possibility where the Clippers and Lakers play in the conference final, but I don't know who I would. I'd have a hard time taking one of those teams. It seems silly, but it's good. And the Lakers have played some really good ball. as much as we shit on them in this
Can't beat the
podcast.
Lakers. They can't beat the Clippers. They've lost like 11 in a row to the Clippers, the Lakers.
You only need 4 games.
Yeah, it's true. You got to win one first.
I'm gonna take LA to go deep. Lakers.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're both there. So yeah,
I know. I mean, I
the
want to make a
Lakers
little
get to
funny
the
joke.
final.
I think the Lakers can make it to the finals. Yep.
I do too. And I'm picking the Suns, but I think the Lakers can get there.
That'd be a fun matchup too. Lakers and Suns conference final. I think that would be. If there was anything the NBA could write up, I think that's the matchup they want to write up.
I agree. Even more than Golden State, I think they take that. LeBron versus Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Also Chris Paul. See if he could stop choking every other year. That would probably help them out.
Maybe.
Out east, is it Boston, Milwaukee conference final? Lock it in.
I think it's a combination of those two teams or the 76ers. Yes. Yeah. There's no other team that really scares me. I think those 3 teams have been the best teams in the regular season. And I think that those three teams will make a combination. I don't know how it goes, but I think they will. Not confident enough to say. I know Marcus Smart has to get his head out of his ass. It's just as plain as day that guy needs to play better if they are going to make it to a conference final.
How many games does it take for the Celtics to beat the Heat?
I think a surprising amount, because I think when Jimmy's playing, Jimmy gives them a hard time.
Scare a little bit, the Heat.
I would be scared. I would not say that that's a
zombie Heat.
Zombie.
UD.
Yeah. With Spo and Jimmy, and if Adebayo can play like he has played in the past, they'll give them a hard time.
Six?
It goes to me. It goes 6 minimum. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah.
Think they can beat them? Think they can sweep them?
Celtics in 5.
Okay. One last game.
Yeah. Gentlemen's sweep. Gentlemen's sweep.
Gentlemen's sweep.
You give UD one game.
Yeah. Give them one game at home to walk it off.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade will pop back in for that one too. Jersey on.
Celtics get back to the finals?
To be determined.
Oh.
I'm not going to say just yet. Yeah. I'll say next week.
Not so confident now.
I'll make my two teams. I was confident all year, and I think it's coming back to backfire me. But I'll make both my predictions for both my teams and for next week, and I'll leave that to that. A little spoiler.
I'll finish it with this. Ime Udoka coaches one of these 3 teams next year: Detroit, Houston, or Toronto.
Detroit, Houston, or Toronto. What about Brooklyn?
No, they re-signed Jacques Vaughn.
Oh, he's in long term. He's locked. Okay.
Yeah, he's locked in.
What about Dallas?
I wouldn't want that job.
No one would. I'm
Philly too with your boy. He could be gone. Doc Rivers.
That's the thing. He's a good coach. Yeah, I mean, he made mistakes personal in his personal life, but it's sports. I mean, those.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson.
Forget about them.
Yeah, they basically written. Oh, yeah. You had a year off. You've learned your lesson.
Yeah.
Give me a break. I'm going to say no because I feel like there'll be more options for him. I feel like you'll see him get quite a few looks this offseason. I may be wrong, but
none of those 3 teams.
Yeah, I could see Toronto. I don't know why, but Toronto is intriguing. But he also, I don't know if he wants to go through another rebuild or another,
what might be a sneaky good job, Shay, is Detroit, because they got the best odds for the number 1 pick.
Yeah. Yeah. And they didn't have Cade this year too. So you got him back. You got the Ba, he's back.
Yeah.
Wamamba. Play Mamamba. Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I don't see Detroit being a playoff team anytime soon, but they could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you? Do you think he's a lock for one of those 3 teams?
If
I
I
think so.
was Detroit, I would throw some money. I would throw some money at him because I'd want a good
I
coach.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Absolutely. I think any team should pay him fairly, but
And for
I
some
I
reason, I
don't
feel like
know.
Nick Nurse is gonna get like an extension from Toronto with more money. I know it makes no sense, but I think somehow it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I can't see that. No, I think the Nurse and Toronto are parting ways. I think he's those comments he made are just so
Yeah.
it's like embarrassing. It's embarrassing him. It's embarrassing the team. I if I was Masai, I'd be like, I don't care if you won a championship here. I don't care if you're a decorated head coach.
Mm-hmm. You're done.
Yeah, the door's there. Don't let it
See it.
hit you on the way out.
Right.
Go. Good luck in Houston. The weather's better.
Fair enough. I take that. 26th birthday tomorrow for
Yes.
you. What's on the docket? Are you anything for?
Yeah. So I don't have any plans. I don't plan on celebrating my birthday this weekend or doing anything crazy. I had a nice little cake with my family, just a nice little quiet event. But actually, Kennedy surprised me. We're gonna go to Top Shelf, the golfing simulator here in St. John for a couple hours. I'll be able to ring out the old irons and maybe the thing. I've never been to a simulator. Surprisingly, I've always wanted to go. So kind
Nice.
of something I'd like to check off the bucket list. And yeah, pretty good after my successful Masters weekend from taking some people's cash,
Yeah.
making a couple correct bets.
Yeah.
So yeah, so pretty good. So that's about it for this guy. What about you? What's on the go for the rest of the week into the
Going to
weekend?
the Wildcat game tonight, Game 7.
Game 7, yes.
Wildcats Baie-Comeau, so I'm going to that this evening.
Got a prediction on the winner?
4 of the 6 games so far have gone to overtime. So I'm going to
No.
say it goes to overtime. I think Baie-Comeau's better. I'm going to pick Baie-Comeau.
Okay, that's fair.
And then later in the week, nothing too crazy. Awards on Friday. Do the NHL awards, my little award show. Nice, some fanfare. Might dress up, get the ponytail going. Not sure for that.
Yeah,
A lot of fanfare.
I saw that you had it. I saw you had the hair up not too long ago. Is this a new recurring look that we're going to be able to see here on YouTube?
I think so. I had it yesterday. I thought it looked okay. I thought it was nice. I like having it up a little bit, so that was good. But yeah, probably start doing that. NBA playoffs this weekend, so watch that. UFC Kansas City, Max Holloway, your boy, blessed, returning to the cage to fight Arnold Allen, undefeated in the UFC. So that should be a lot of fun. NHL regular season's over. That's a reason to celebrate in and of itself.
It's been a long one. I don't know why it felt like a long. It's been a
It's
long
it's
season
a
for some
it's a
reason.
grind. Yeah, it's been Tampa Bay Rays, red hot. Celebrate that 10 and
Yes,
0.
ma'am.
So no, should be a good week. Weather's nice. Spring is on the horizon. It's all good in the hood.
A lot of sports going on, but are you still avid on the TWD, The Walking Dead?
Yeah,
Has it taken a break from it? Has it
yeah,
gotten ridiculous?
yes. It's
Okay,
I mean
you've hit
it's
that point.
the 8th season, and I'm like, okay, it's tough to get through. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just same stuff. I like the new Negan character, and he's like the only thing I like about the show right now. So that's kind of tough when he's the only he's the bad person, and he's the only person I like. But some parallels there. But
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of a break from The Walking Dead. Started watching Rabbit Hole on Paramount Plus
Oh,
with Kiefer Sutherland. So
good.
it's been pretty good so far. Yeah, he knows his role. He knows, Jack Bauer-esque type show. Love 24, so liking this. So far, so that's all good. I want to watch Air sometime soon as well. So I'd like to get to a theater
Me
somewhere
too.
and watch Ben Affleck do his work. So that's another thing I want to get done here soon.
Yeah. No, I'm on top. I'm on top of that. Air looks. I mean, I've already heard it's a really, really, outstanding movie. So
Oh, I didn't
I'm
ask you this. I wanted to ask you this weekend before I let you go. Did you
yeah,
watch M. Night Shyamalan's Cabin in the Woods or Knock at the Cabin or something?
yeah. I know. Yeah, I know the movie you mean. It's the one with the world ending.
Uh, Well, it came out like last month.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
That's the
Dave
one.
Bautista.
Yeah. No, I've not watched it. I'm not a big M. Night Shyamalan guy. Like, I don't get super excited about a lot of his flicks.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, I mean, yes, he has got some good flicks. Don't get me wrong. But they're all like a little different. He's got some different ideas behind him.
That beach movie was horrible. That last one he
Well,
made
is it
there.
called Old?
Yes, I hated it.
Yeah. I didn't see that it got great reviews. It looks interesting, but I don't understand. Like,
It's
I
hard to
don't know.
understand.
Yeah, yeah, his movies don't get me rock hard. Don't It's about the way I would put it.
Right.
Who's a guy besides Tarantino you can say, like, if he's directing, you're like, okay, this is something I gotta watch? Is it
Martin
Nolan,
Scorsese.
Scorsese? Yeah, it's been a
Or
while.
yeah, he's making another movie right now with De Niro. It's another crime movie. Mafia. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems right up his alley. Yeah, people will watch it and people love
Oh
it. The
yeah.
old guys are gonna love it.
Yeah. Or obviously, my guy, Fablemans, E.T.,
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg. I mean, come on. He's pretty good. Not bad.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Michelle Williams, Rob Queen. He's making a movie I like. I like, obviously, never James Cameron. Bear. Elizabeth Banks does a lot of good stuff lately. A lot of her movies are really good. She's a good director.
I didn't know she
I did
directed.
watch Cocaine Bear recently. Yeah, but that was
What
not so great. But no.
is that
I mean,
Ray
there you go.
Liotta's last movie?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
sad. That he ends on that. He ends on that note.
Yeah. That is disappointing. That's tough. But
Yeah.
well, I'll let you get to your night. Big birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday. Enjoy
Thank you.
top
Shelf.
golf, top shelf.
Yeah.
Enjoy top shelf and happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and look forward to revealing some of my picks on my teams next week.
We'll chat then.
We'll chat then.
Shamus Fillmore, always great to chat with him as we do every Tuesday here on the show. NBA play-in tonight. We got some NHL action. Leafs Lightning. Jets can clinch a playoff spot amongst other things. So lots to absorb tonight. Until then, talk to you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. This is To The Point.